Rio, what a fantastic city. And it's got the added bonus of plenty of sunshine and a generous helping of fresh sea air. To most, it's paradise, but it's a nightmare for the city's most famous monument, high up in the clouds.
The statue of Christ has suffered like everything in Brazil from the effects of rust. In a country like this, stretching from the tropics to the equator, a deadly mixture of heat, humidity, salty air and rain can attack anything made of steel. In Brazil, if cars aren't kept in a garage, they can very easily rust through in a few years.
Just look at some of last year's carnival floats. Once the proud centerpieces of the greatest show on earth, now lying in the float graveyard, victims of the demon rust. It's a costly problem which is hard to prevent, as rust is different everywhere you go. Take a look at these examples here. Each one completely different because it comes from a different environment. A combination of the type of metal and the climate.
Meet Dr. Luiz Miranda. He's mad about rust. And here in his lab at Coppe, South America's largest engineering institute, he thinks he's beating it.
Doctor, hello. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
What have we got here?
Dr. Miranda is developing a special anti-rust paint. It depends on him being able to identify the particular rust that needs treating. When a metal starts to rust, it creates an electric current, which causes the rusting to continue. One way to stop the corrosion is to neutralize that current, and Dr. Miranda's idea is to do just that. He makes an exact copy of the rust from a scratch in the metal and mixes that into paint. He then coats the rusty patch with this special mixture. The copied rust in the paint neutralizes the current, and then the corrosion should stop spreading.
The scratch. This?
It's this method of treating rust that makes Dr. Miranda's paint different from existing anti-rust paint.
Now, do you know it works?
Yes, sure.
Can you prove it to me?
Yes. Look for this prehistoric sample.
So this is a plain piece of metal that you've coated in your protective rust paint?
Yes.
This piece of metal Dr. Miranda calls his fossil is painted with an early prototype of the rust paint. It's been sitting in a bowl of salt water for several years. It's ugly and it looks like the steel's been corroded, but that's just the cloned rust in the paint. If you look carefully where the paint's been scraped off, you can see the undamaged steel underneath.
So it hasn't been
no
eaten into?
corrosion. No corrosion at all. Don't you see?
Thanks to your paint?
Yes.
Dr. Miranda has to make up a paint to fit each job, so he can't make one universal product. But he believes it's useful for heavy industry, where there's the same type of rust on one site. And unlike most anti-rust paints, you don't have to clean up the corroded area first.
The great advantage of this metal is very cheap. Very cheap. From the moment that you have a damaged area, you need only a retouch.
Just have to touch it up?
Yes.
But it's not just industry that can benefit. Rio is in danger of losing the statue of Christ to rust. South America's most famous landmark is built of concrete and covered in soapstone. It's dominated the city skyline since 1931. Inside the neck and shoulders are 6 steel tubes, but they've corroded over the years. This caused them to expand and crack the surrounding concrete. Engineers restoring the statue called in Dr. Miranda and his protective rust paint.
Well, Dr. Miranda's paint was important because it protects the steel inside the structure of the oxidation. It's as simple as that. It gave the statue a longer life, that's for sure.
Dr. Miranda's paint can't rejuvenate the statue, but it certainly stopped the rot. It only took a couple of cans of the stuff, and the monument should be around for many years to come.